You're watching PEGRI TV, Rhode Island's public access channel.
Salam. My name is Sheikh Abu Hakim Abdullah, President Chairman of Al Masjid Sharia Allah, AMSA, a non-profit religious organization operating in the state of Rhode Island, USA. When I left you, I was talking about how we gotta live together and the difference between us Christians, disbelievers, and whatnot. Well, and then I was talking to you about how the riots and stuff started in Egypt and whatnot, and what's going on today. Well, before I go back into that, let me say something to you. I think you need to hear it. My thing is to try to get brothers and sisters to realize what they're doing Islamically and what they're doing non-Islamically today. Not 20 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 15,000 years ago. I'm speaking of today, 2013, the year, 1460-something Islamically. I'm speaking now today. And you all have Qurans and Hadiths in your houses and whatnot. So I don't need to go talk to you about that. You got enough programs on trying to teach you the Fatiha and all that other stuff. I'm trying to get you to realize that you got to straighten up and use the old phrase, straighten up and fly right. That was 1941 that phrase came out during the Second World War. But what I'm trying to tell you now, you got to get down and start to do your deen. And so I'm trying to talk to you about stuff that's concerning now, today. I'm trying to bring us back to the Sultan Mustaqim and at the same time back to the physical jihad and the physical way of living. Nasa jihad, self-jihad. I'm trying to get you back into that. And I don't have time to talk to you about all these other things because those things that Imam can talk to you about when you go to Jumu'ah. I'm talking to you right now about how to get yourselves together, how to take off that lipstick, how to stop wearing them earrings, how to get the beautiful things of Islam. And you're not going to get them as long as you're going contrary to the deen. And a lot of you think you're doing what you're supposed to be doing in the deen, and you're actually breaking the laws and regulations of Islam. So I give you that, and I get back to what I was doing in the beginning. Well, that's what happened while we had the revolution here in Egypt, Yemen, and other places, because brothers, younger sisters, and some of the old do not want to put the physical deen on themselves. They just want the spiritual deen on themselves. They don't want to be governed by Islam. They want to be governed by the democracy and the democratic system of other countries. Now, I disagree with that. I feel that we we joined Islam. Some of us joined in the United States. Some of us was born Muslim. Some of us been Muslim 50, 60, 100 years. You know, we have to live Islamically. I don't believe in marijuana and walking around having free sex and drinking and boozing and doing what I want to do in the street and everything. I don't believe in that anymore. At one time I was in that school of thought. I was involved with a lot of that, but not anymore. So I'm trying to talk to you about that. Now, back to where I was, if I can find where I was. We Muslims can't. We Muslims must begin to open up our own thing. You see, and that's what why we didn't have that in all these years. In the last, see, since the 20s, the Muslim went completely out of whack. He was holding on more closer to it years ago in the 18, the 19, early 19, early 18, late 1800s. You see, he was holding on to it then, but he's in the desert. He's riding on a camel and he's riding horses, and you know, all them places was looking quite different than it looks today. But when the oil money came into things, we got kings and all that kind of stuff came about, and the king's family seen that they had money, and they was going to keep it in the family. So you had the kingships and the country kings, and all that happened, and we didn't have no kings in Saudi Arabia back in the days of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu. They didn't have a king. They had chieftains. Excuse me. They had chieftains but no king. The king was in another land. But now they turned around and Saud turned around and became a king. That's how the name Saudi Arabia came about. It was named after him, Saud. And he became the king. He was a chieftain, and then he became a king. He made his family royal people, royal family. He was a chieftain. He was a wild bandit chieftain. He was a nomad. That's what he was. He was a nomad, and they made himself a king. So now they got royalty families and stuff. So, but things begin to go. One thing that we did wrong in talking to the Muslims is that we did not put an education system and develop ourselves a future culture. We didn't take and streamline our culture. And one of the reasons that couldn't happen is because we had different tribes living together, trying to be one tribe. And that's when we should have took our children and put them into education schools and develop a culture. Not the tribal culture, but a culture. Develop a way of life like the Europeans did. They turned around, they was living in caves and stuff, and then they turned around and they built cities and towns after part from Greece, part from Rome, part from this, part of that, part of Egypt, part of everybody's part, and turned around and built themselves up a way of life for the future. We didn't do that as Muslims. Something happened where we wasn't smart enough at the time to realize what Allah was giving us. Allah gave us integration on a large scale through Islam. But what we did, instead of looking at that integration that He gave to us, we turned around and we brought in to what He gave us, that integration that He gave us, the cultures of all our tribal actions of different tribes. This tribe, that tribe, this tribe, that tribe, the Quraysh, those people, the Madinans, and all these different cultures came in, and we started living in all them different cultures. Those different cultures also created the sets that we have today in the Islam and breaking up the Ummah of Allah. Did you understand what I just said to you? Breaking up the Ummah of Allah, the different sets, the different people, like on these bees, the different people on these bees turned around and broke off a piece here and turned around and took this piece here and they broke off and made this a group. And then they broke off this piece here and this piece here and made that a group. And all the pieces broke off and we lost the integration. We lost the integration. We turned around and we segregated in cultures. The Arabs went one way, the Persians went another way, the Egyptians went another way. The Palestinians, which came from came from Israel, who was living in Palestine all these years, that branched off from the Canaanites. You see, all this stuff that happened, and so we forgot and didn't start this culture thing with this integration, with this large religion that was growing. The religion was growing, but separately, cultures were growing, tribal cultures was growing. And so we wind up with, in the late 1800s and early 1900s, we wind up with a different bunch of bands, groups, fighting against each other, warring against each other. And people like the Ottoman Empire, they started moving into Saudi Arabia and all these other places and want to break that up. And then Britain, and then they want to come in there and break their thing up. And then you have the Italians come in and they want to break up Liberia, Libya. You see, this is what happened. And our thing, we never developed this Islamic culture of all the different people that was in Islam. We had people coming into Islam that got into Islam from Africa, and we had people come from Africa, and we turned around and followed the Portuguese people and made slaves of our own African brother Muslims. You see, can you understand what I'm saying to you? Please try to follow me. And so today, we don't have a culture Islamic culture to live under that would be the future, that would be able to do in this time today. And that's what we must begin to do now, before all the oil money is gone. You know, I say it like that. I say it like it is. Before all the oil money is ate up. I want to say what we should do, but I can't say that on this television and on this internet. But nobody seems to have sense enough to realize what I'm saying, to reach out and say, Sheikh Abdullah, can we talk to you? Can you come here and explain to us what you really doing? What you really trying to say? Like I said, I'm not a terrorist. There's nothing on me that thinks terrorism. There's nothing on me that thinks terrorizing anyone. I don't have a toe to think that way, or finger, or hair, or any part of me do I think terrorism. I'm against all kinds of terrorism. I don't care if it's the United States doing it, if Britain's doing it, if Saudi Arabia's doing it, or whoever's doing it. I do not care for any kind of terrorism. And so when I write people, I say that we Muslims should stand against all types of terrorism. Now, I don't mean that we should stand up there and fight it. I mean that we should stop it when it's growing. If you see two people talking about tearing down something or blowing up a cigarette box, we should get involved in that and separate that and say, "Oh, whoa, wait, you can't do that. We're not going to sponsor you with that. You can't come here and talk that." And that's what we should have been doing the last 20 years. And we haven't been doing that. We got people that literally they don't care if the fight is across the street as long as it's not on this side of the street. And I've seen that happening many times around the world. The United States went through that with Hitler. And England went through that with Hitler. And Russia went through it with Hitler. And France went through it with Hitler. And they sacrificed Czechoslovakia, Poland, Norway, all these different countries. They sacrificed to Hitler to try to appease Hitler. And then he began to attack them. Then the United States laying back with Roosevelt and them, and they didn't want to accept Hitler, but Hitler's people was running around the street talking about hit the club in the United States. This is exactly the way it went. I don't think I'm lying to you. It's right on that stupid box. You people will be seeing it if you turn around and turn it on the television. They're talking about their own errors. But you can't see it. You can't see this because you're too involved in other garbage. You're involved in everything except the Islamic way of life. And this is what I'm trying to say. It's time to get out of that. I'm not saying you know, let me give you, for instance, you got Jewish people here in the United States, have towns, have places in the United States where down the street you got, let's take Williamsburg, Brooklyn, New York. In Williamsburg, Brooklyn, New York, you have the Puerto Rican, and you have the Mexican, and you have the Dominican, and all them down there by the L, going towards Williamsburg. Then you have South Brooklyn, which used to be Italian. The Italiano used to live down in South Brooklyn. The Jews came there and started living down there in South Brooklyn. Now on William Street, Lee Avenue, and around there, you got Jewish neighborhoods with Jewish projects, with Jewish schools, with Jewish everything. And if a person walk in that neighborhood that's not Jewish, they know about it. They have got walkie-talkies and everything else. And if black people walk in there, they definitely know about it. But black people live around it and near it, so they ease in a little bit. Then because they use government money for the project, they had to let few people move in, and that was the chosen blacks that moved into the projects. But the majority of the project with government money is Jewish. I know, because I used to work for down there. I was born in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, New York. So I'm trying to tell you something. What I'm telling you is what I'm seeing is involved in, and this is what we got to get down with now today. They got supermarkets and everything else. Over further, you got the Jehovah's Witnesses in the area. It's all yellow, bright yellow, yellow like I got a piece of yellow, yellow like this red is red. It's yellow. Yellow buildings and all that. People from Almond Street want them buildings like so-called, what's it called? Brooklyn Heights. Downtown Brooklyn. Henry Street. Almond Street. All that down there that goes into North Brooklyn. The so-called, that part is considered the east side of Manhattan. So all the people on the east side, the Greenwich Village side, that was poor and stuff, moved into certain parts of Brooklyn and began to live down there. Now, the artists that don't want to live in Greenwich Village is now living in downtown Brooklyn, and the houses are being sold for $1 million, $200 million, $150 million, all that kind of stuff. Down there near the Academy of Music, Brooklyn Academy of Music, and the Brooklyn Library up in the park. I'm trying to tell you, but they got that section. So I'm trying to show you that you can literally have a section in the United States. But you're not doing it. You're not doing what you're trying to mix in with. You're mixing in with people that don't want you to mix in with them. So don't mix in with them. Build your own. You got places right here in Rhode Island where you can build your own area. There's nobody trying to build a thing there. There's cities, little small towns here in Rhode Island that you can begin to build your own little town, your own markets, your own clothing stores, your own butchers, your own everything. And if you want to work for these people, let them employ you to buy something from you. Don't work for them making what they're selling and selling, making these so-called illegal things. And this is what you're going to have to do. I'm trying to talk to you about something. I'm trying to pull your coat about what's happening today. You've got to do this today. Because if you don't, the disbelievers and the Christians and all these people that's fighting against us, trying to destroy our Islam, It's going to have us killing each other. Literally killing each other. Now, you brothers that's got all this money from the oil and whatnot, it's time to take what you got and go into the hills with it, and then leave the rest, and leave the rest to everybody else, and help us to turn around and build an Islamic culture here in the United States or in Cuba or wherever we at. And open up businesses, open up and get ships to sail, get trucks to drive. You got to do this kind of stuff today. Because they are trying to design something where they don't need the oil that much anymore. And who are you going to sell it to? You see what happened to Cuba? Cuba's running around with antique cars. I'm trying to talk to you. This is why I say I don't have the time to sit around and like I said, they are trying to destroy us. They're literally spending big money to produce things and make movies. They deliberately have it where the thorn is being called in a movie and nobody's breaking for prayer. Nobody's breaking for prayer. I seen one movie that happened in, and that was that movie with that black guy, a movie with the black guy, in Saudi Arabia, where the, you know, an oil company, and he was the FBI, and he was trying to get this spy and all this stuff, you know. But that was the only time they put nobody, and they had that habit. But when the dawn was called, nobody broke for no prayer. They do that deliberately to us. They had a show on there where the African brother's Muslim, and he's sitting there smoking cigars and drinking booze. And trying to cut up a country. They do that deliberately. I'm sorry that I had to talk this way. I'm not sorry I had to talk. I need to talk this way. Somebody better talk to you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim, maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta alaihim ghayril maghdubi alaihim waladdallin. Amin. Sadaqallahu al-azim. Oh my goodness, my brothers. Please, my brothers and sisters. Try listening to me. Oh, astaghfirullah. Subhanallah, alhamdulillah.
Yeah.